Welcome everyone, we're excited to share some country wisdom with you.
King Solomon had a thing or two to say about the path to wisdom. In Proverbs 4, he wrote, "Let your eyes look directly forward and your gaze be straight before you. Keep straight the path of your feet, and all your ways will be sure."
Join us now for country wisdom.
Can you imagine living in a house like that?
I could stand that, you know.
Oh, I could move in right now and be very comfortable. It's like, that is my home. I love the house that I currently have, but tourists don't stop in front of my house.
That's true. That's true.
It's nothing to write home about.
You think about it, that place was built in, I think, 1886. Now, there'd be a problem for me because there's probably a fair amount of mold in it, you know, especially being on the coast. My asthma would kill me, but I could suffer through it, I think, to have that house on my property.
Oh, the view from up top? That would be my room there on the third story, where you could just feel like I am master of my domain. And you kind of wonder if that's what he thought. You know, when they built that, maybe that was his office.
Yeah.
Maybe when he looked out, it's like he owned everything he saw.
It's interesting, too, because when he built it, it cost about $80,000. Today's dollars, understand that's probably at least $3 to $4 million. You know?
I wouldn't put it past it. Yeah. I bet that the neighbors all thought, $80,000 for his house, you know, what? And now we'd go, $80,000 for that?
I'll buy it. Come on, you know.
Yeah. But the amazing thing to me is actually that it's still here. Because think of how many homes were built in 1885 or 6 or whatever it was. Most of them aren't here anymore. A house doesn't last that long.
Especially wood.
Especially wood. Especially a place where fires, earthquakes.
Of course, Janice, maybe this one lasted because he was a redwood baron here. You know, he owned all the timber mills and everything. Maybe they built it out of redwood, so.
Maybe so, but still, it is amazing that it's still here and that it's been kept up so well, because that just isn't normal. Normally, you build a house and within, 20 years later, it just starts. First, it's the roof, and then the foundation has a crack, and you've got just constantly fixing something. Our house was only 2 years old when we bought it, and it's got a lot now that needs, speaking of roof, Steve mentioned we're going to need a new roof pretty soon. It's always something. They just don't last, which is kind of a metaphor for life.
Yeah, it's true. I think about the contractor maybe that oversaw the work on this. He builds this edifice, and what does he go home to? You know,
something not nearly as good.
Not nearly as good. Maybe he didn't even own it. You know, maybe he couldn't even afford to own a home. You know, I think about what the Bible talks about heaven. Totally different scenario than we typically operate here. Matter of fact, let's see. It's found in Isaiah. I just have to find Isaiah. My hands are so cold out here today, I can't hardly leave it.
And the wind doesn't help with those pages.
Yeah. It's Isaiah chapter 65. And says in verse 21, "And they shall build houses and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and eat of them. They shall not build and another inhabit, they shall not plant and another eat. For as the days of the tree are the days of my people, and mine elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands." It gives you a whole different idea of what heaven's going to be like, you know. I mean, I can do some pretty decent carpentry and things, but apparently we've got all knowledge. God gives us, all wisdom and all strength, because I'm getting to where there's no way I'd do that, but all strength to go build my own home. I may even draw my own plans, I get the feeling, and I have no idea, but I like to think that maybe we have our city home with God in the New Jerusalem, and then we've got a place in the country too.
That would be nice.
And I can build my little house in the country, and I can have my garden and do all these things,
But you don't have to worry about it rotting away.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to worry about the steps to the porch are going to fall through.
Matter of fact, you say that, I just flashed on, lay up your treasure in heaven where moth does not corrupt. The moth can't do anything with. That's what heaven's going to be. A moth can't get to heaven. Destruction can't get to heaven. All that mess, rats and mice can't get into the pantry in heaven.
And you don't have thieves who are going to break in and take anything.
Yeah, we don't need concealed carry permits. We don't need guards. We don't need anything else. It's all going to be totally different.
And will be I can't even imagine what forever really means. Everything that we know in this earth has a sell-by date. Some come sooner than others, but you don't really expect that anything that you have. I doubt if Mr. Carson thought that, lo, these many years later, what is it, are we going on 140 years?
Yeah, about that.
I doubt if he even thought that it would last that long.
Well, we have a hard time thinking past our own lifespan. I mean, sure, some people with lots of money, do endowments and think down the road, but for them personally, no. But there are people, too, that start building, and they never even get to see the fruit of their hand. No one could ever calculate the amount of sacrifice that went into the making of this great nation, the gains of so many because of the loss of the precious few. As a child in school, I sang America the Beautiful, God bless America. And we started every day by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. But a lot has changed. Biblical predictions are taking shape at an amazing pace. If you're about my age, you know that this is not the country we all grew up in. It seems like this nation is rushing toward a cliff with no possibility of return. When I became a Christian, I began studying biblical prophecy, last day events. I found a book called The Great Controversy that was amazing in its clarity. If you'd like a copy, log on to our website.
To order your free copy of The Great Controversy, go to talkingdonkeyinternational.org, click on the Store tab, and order your copy today.
You know the impact of Christ's message. It heals, it transforms. Do you have the eye for a great post, the heart for a kind comment, the skill to build community?
Talking Donkey International is looking for passionate volunteers, from seasoned content creators to newcomers.
We are a Christian community dedicated to sharing Christ's love.
This is a real opportunity to turn your time into ministry. Scan the QR code
to make a lasting impact.
Oh, it's funny you should mention that, because Steve and I were in Europe just this last summer on a Reformation tour. One of the interesting side trips that we made was to a place, the Reggio di Caserta, and I'm probably slaughtering.
Could you say that one more time?
Probably not the same way.
Okay.
And I imagine any Italian.
You just said it so nice, you act like you knew exactly what you're doing. I just thought I'd check it out.
It's a facade.
Okay.
If anyone who really knows Italian is listening to this, they're probably going, "The what? She just slaughtered my native language." But it was a royal palace, and it was Charles VII of Naples built it. Apparently, he built it because he wanted to one-up Versailles. I've been to Versailles too.
Versailles,
the thought of one-upping Versailles, but that was his plan. That place is a little over 650,000 square feet.
The building.
Yes, and this was supposed to be one man's home. And
that's a shopping center in Los Angeles.
The grounds, he has the gorgeous gardens. There were fountains way up at the top of the hill with the fountains going down. And I want to say it was like a mile in between, and that's all his place. Talk about surveying your kingdom.
He was trying to outdo Versailles with the gardens. Yeah.
Right. He never spent a single night in it. Never got to enjoy it. And here you talk about building up your treasure on earth, and then he wasn't there to even get the fruits of his labor. Not that he labored on it, he just paid for it. Probably taxes paid for it. But you think, you go to all that trouble designing this place, and then you don't even get to enjoy it? And too many times people, that is exactly how they're living their life. They are putting so much time and effort into something that is going to be gone.
Yeah. Well, Do you remember the story of uh, David was king, kind of king. He'd been, anointed as king, but he's still hiding in a cave.
Oh, I think I know what story you're talking
And
about.
by the way, it's really interesting. He's anointed king by God, and he's pursued like a dog for 10 years. I know that's not part of this story, but I think about that because so many times we think everything's got to be perfect for the Christian. It isn't. It isn't by
It's
any
often
means.
harder.
But David's hiding in the caves, and he finds this guy Nabal, however you pronounce his name in the tongue, but he finds out he's a really rich man. And this guy has got thousands of sheep and camels and goats. And he sends one of his people there to ask him, can we have just a little bit for our
Well,
guys?
it was a festival. It was sheep shearing time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when they were literally slaughtering them, having huge feasts, everybody was getting to partake. And it was a good time to ask. And he wasn't just asking for a handout. If you remember, apparently his men had been out there in the fields helping to protect, because they point out to Nabal that season he hadn't lost a single animal to robbers or wild animals.
David has
because of David's men.
400 really good men that take care of everything. Yeah, exactly. Told him that, look, we've done all this for you. And what does he say? Get out of here.
Yeah, he wouldn't give him any kind of reward.
Who is this David anyway?
Pretended he'd never heard of him.
Yeah, I don't know this David. Now, this guy is not only rich, but he's got a really good-looking, smart wife.
I think that's why I love that story, because not only did they mention Abigail as being beautiful and intelligent, and I don't think there is any other female character in the Bible that is complimented for being intelligent. Yeah. So it's like, yes, Abigail.
But she gathers up, tells the servants, you go get this, and she takes a caravan of food to David and said, Master, I am so sorry. Please apologize for my husband. Well, David, first of all, was smitten with her, but
she apparently must have been a looker, because I don't think he had known her more than a few seconds, so he didn't know about her intelligence.
But the graciousness and everything of this woman, and brought all this stuff. And then she gets back home and said, look, this is what I did. And David was coming to kill you because you had ignored everything he'd done for you.
He had vowed, not only when he found out how he'd been insulted, he wasn't just going to kill Nabal. He was going to kill every male on his estate.
Yeah. And Scripture records that at that moment, whether he had a heart attack or a stroke, I asked the resident doctor on the set, which is your husband. We don't know exactly, but it said apparently
he had a lot of fun listing off all the things it could have been.
Yeah, but his heart apparently was turned to stone, and 10 days later he died. Why did he die 10 days later? I think it was because she took all of his stuff away. Here's a whole bunch of stuff. And then he thought, I could die? I don't want to die. I've got all of this stuff.
He was so frightened when she told him, you just nearly died, that then he died.
Yeah.
Talk about literally being scared to death.
I mean, bottom line, we really need to change our stinking thinking.
That's a good way to put it. What's the best present you've ever gotten? A new puppy? A new car? For me, nothing comes close to the gift of the Sabbath. A weekly reminder that we can rest in the absolute assurance of God's love and salvation. Tucked into the heart of the Ten Commandments is the best gift you've ever been offered. If you'd like to find out more about this gift, order this free booklet called A Love Gift from Jesus. To order your free copy, go to talkingdonkeyinternational.org and request offer number 141.
No one could ever calculate the amount of sacrifice that went into the making of this great nation, the gains of so many because of the loss of the precious few. As a child in school, I sang America the Beautiful, God bless America. We started every day by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. But a lot has changed. Biblical predictions are taking shape at an amazing pace. If you're about my age, you know that this is not the country we all grew up in. It seems like this nation is rushing toward a cliff with no possibility of return. When I became a Christian, I began studying biblical prophecy, last day events. I found a book called The Great Controversy that was amazing in its clarity. If you'd like a copy, log on to our website.
To order your free copy of The Great Controversy, go to talkingdonkeyinternational.org. Click on the Store tab and order your copy today.
You know the impact of Christ's message. It heals, it transforms. Do you have the eye for a great post, the heart for a kind comment, the skill to build community?
Talking Donkey International is looking for passionate volunteers, from seasoned content creators to newcomers.
We are a Christian community dedicated to sharing Christ's love.
This is a real opportunity to turn your time into ministry. Scan the QR code.
To make a lasting impact.
So back there just a little bit, you said something that I thought was interesting, partly because it rhymed, that we need to change our stinkin' thinking. And I knew exactly what you meant, but it was just put so well there. But on the other hand, I'm not sure that I completely understand. We need to change our stinking thinking. What exactly did you mean?
Well, let me see here. In Matthew chapter 6, the Lord, I believe, gives us a real idea of that. He says, "Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon the earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt." We mentioned that briefly earlier. "And where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through and steal." And then, my hands are so cold out here, if I can get to the other page, it says in verse 21, "For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." It's a heart thing. It's all about the human heart.
The treasures in heaven. I think we all understand how to build up treasures on earth. Some people are better at it than others, but we all know what that looks like and how you achieve that. But treasures in heaven, I think of my family, and we have 3 kids and 3 granddaughters. And when I look at them, I'm glad that all 3 of them have turned out to be decent people.
They are. You're a good parent.
Right. For me personally, my greatest achievement in life is that all 3 of my kids still love me, still speak to me, because my mother, by the time she died, she had 3 kids as well, but by the time she died, all 3 of us at different points in our life, I was the last holdout, had cut off all connection. I don't know why she chose to live in such a way that when she died, literally nobody cared. She did not leave behind any kind of legacy other than, a bad taste in your mouth. And so I look at my 3 kids, and it's obviously I changed something. I changed the trajectory of our family line because my kids like being around me. They're fun, good kids. I call them kids. They're adults.
Yes. Well, I know you, Janice, from, we've done a lot of programs and been all over the place, and you worked at it. You worked to change. You saw the example. You didn't like that example.
Right.
And you worked by God's grace to change that.
I did. And now with one of our sons is married, and the 3 best grandchildren in the world, the 3 little girls. One who's not so little anymore. I think she's actually gotten, if she's not the same height, she's maybe a little bit taller, which is frightening. But I look at them, and if anything, I care even more about those girls. Where are their hearts? Do they have hearts for God? Will they be in the kingdom? I don't care about anything else. I don't care if they're valedictorian. I mean, that would be great. I would love to brag about them like any grandmother would. But my biggest goal with them is, what kind of example have I been? Have I taught them anything? Have I helped keep them on the right path? certainly, I don't think I've sent them off on a bad path, but it's, have I done enough? Because I care so much about where their focus is.
Yeah.
That is my treasure.
That's a key word. Where is your focus? And the interesting thing about that, they are the treasures. You preparing them for eternal life, you will be with them. You and Steve will be with them for eternity.
I need to think outside my own family, because that's kind of selfish. Everybody wants their own family to be in the kingdom, right?
Yeah.
But our family doesn't stop at where our genetics stop. We need to think outside. I was sitting on my front porch on a actually warm day not long ago, warm enough anyway, sitting on the porch with the sun on me. And, I love my little neighborhood. We bought that house when our oldest wasn't, Lauren, the one who's the dad of the 3 girls, he was 8 months old when we bought that house. So we'd been in that neighborhood forever. And yet I was wondering, how many of those neighbors do I actually personally know? Yeah, the ones on either side, the ones across the street. You get a little further up the block, I'm not even so sure about their names. Why don't I care about them?
You bring that up, and I think about we became Christians and everything was wonderful, but then I started making money, and a lot of money, got involved in all those things, still going to church, still looking cool, and in my suit, went every week and gave money to an offering plate and all those things. But one day, basically, God spoke to me and said, Jim, you're lost. If I come back right now, you're lost. And it just hit us both, my wife and I both. He kind of spoke to her at the same time. And we began doing mission work. Matter of fact...
Did you believe it when he said that to you?
Oh, I did.
Or did you first think, what do you mean I'm lost? I'm doing everything right.
No, I kind of started knowing, and God gives you a kind of an internal gauge that you can begin reading what your life's really like if you stop and get back and look. And I had been getting back and looking, but sometimes you get on the pathway, you don't know how to get back. But praise God, he brought us around, and we said, let's start doing some mission work. Let's go help somebody. And one of those earlier trips, we invited you and Steve. Steve was still a doctor, and I brought together a whole group of doctors and nurses and also construction people. And we went over to Honduras right after Hurricane Mitch, of all things. And they said, you're probably going to cancel your trip, aren't you? Because you have to go and be self-sustaining. I said, no, we're still going to go. And we brought, at that time, the airlines would still ship a lot of stuff free. We brought tons of gear and equipment and food, everything. So we were totally self-sustaining, even water purification and on. And we got over there and we treated thousands of patients that really needed it. We held some meetings to tell people about Jesus Christ. We built them a building. Just that one trip, we impacted so many people.
I remember being reluctant to go, partly because I thought, what use am I going to be? I'm not a doctor or a nurse, and I've never done construction. But by the time we left 2 weeks later, I actually didn't want to leave, because I'd found something there that I didn't want to let go of.
You found service to humanity, to give to someone else. And that's some of the key of laying treasure up in heaven. I really think that when we get to heaven, we'll meet some of those people. I won't recognize them, but they may run up and, God gives us heavenly vision. They'll run up and say, thank you, because of you. They'll run up and see you and Steve and say, because of you guys, I'm here. And I remember down there, I got to dedicate a baby, I think, and that was so cool, The list goes on and on and on. And Janine and I, from there, we started doing, we almost didn't work anymore, it seemed like.
You didn't care about your business anymore.
Didn't care about anything anymore, just go and do for others. And it's been such an incredible blessing. And we began, with our children, trying to do some of those things. And our daughter especially got hooked on it, and service. And so I think that's a lot of it, is that treasure is really manifests itself in service to others, whether it's your personal family, some extended family, or whatever it is,
Yeah. And I think that we get a glimpse. It doesn't have to be a mission trip. Yes, that is an amazing way to do service.
Mission's right around the door.
That's why sitting on my front porch as I looked around my neighborhood, it was, do my neighbors know what I stand for? Do my neighbors notice anything different about me? Or am I just, the lady they wave to occasionally?
Yeah.
I think sometimes we think of service and mission as only being in places like, the Amazon jungle or something, and otherwise it doesn't count. But the service is meeting someone at the grocery store. I work at a Christian school. I have parents in and out of my office. It's, what have I offered them? Am I doing just, the basic job, making sure that I'm earning my paycheck or making sure I'm doing payroll properly or whatever I'm working on, but not caring about the people there?
Yeah.
God, every person that walks through my office door, God might have brought them there for a purpose. And have I offered them a glimpse of heaven or not?
Exactly. No,
that's where you build up treasure.
Yeah, that's the real key. And I hope that people understand, that they almost lost it. And I don't want to chase it down the street, but I hope people understand that that's what God is looking for, is to come live in our lives and work through us to be a blessing to others.
That was a good thought, and it reminds me, I'm pulling out my Bible here.
Okay.
It looks a little different from yours. Hebrews 10:32-34. This is the Good News translation. Remember how it was with you in the past. In those days, after God's light had shone on you, you suffered many things, yet you were not defeated by the struggle. You were at times publicly insulted and mistreated, and at other times you were ready to join those who were being treated in this way. You shared the sufferings of prisoners, and when all your belongings were seized, you endured your loss gladly, because you knew that you still possessed something much better, which would last forever. That is someone who has their focus in the right place.
Amen.
And folks, if your focus isn't in the right place today, I question where mine is when I was sitting there on the porch thinking about my neighbors, wondering, what effect have I had? Have I touched anyone where it's going to make a difference in the kingdom? Or is my focus every day just on me? If you want to change your focus, I know a book that you need to read, the Bible. It has all the advice, all the wisdom that you need to turn your heart back to God, or turn your heart to Him for the very first time, so that you can be building up treasure where nothing can take it away from you.
Amen. Thank you for watching. Join us again for another exciting Country Wisdom.
See you next time.